Many people might be thinking and saying that why boys always talk about bike, but let me tell you, it is not just boys. I'm sharing just a recent experience. I had attended an interview for Indian Navy as an electrical engineer for electrical branch, but I had written bike riding as my hobby in my PIQ form. During interview, the interviewing officer picked bike riding as the main thing. I had written other hobbies as well, like art, reading, everything, but he ignored all those things. But he picked up bike riding. He asked me about my bike, which bike do you own? I told Expulse, and he told, oh, is it a good bike? My son is also thinking to buy the same bike. Why do you think? Why did you choose that bike apart from other options in the market? Then I had to explain him about the categories of motorcycles like adventure, racing, and other stuff. And he asked, why only adventure? What is your intention behind it? I had to explain all those stuff. And then he came to technical aspects. I had given him already too much of explanation on technical features that bike has, from electronics to engines, and then suspension and all. So he started asking questions from the engine, how the engine actually works, what are internal combustion engine, external combustion engine, and then he started asking how it is getting the air and petrol mixture, how the valve is working, timing chain, and how the gear is shifted. And from there, when I was explaining how the gear gets shifted, he asked how it is actually changing the speed, what is the impact of changing the speed. Then I came to a topic of torque and power. When I mentioned about torque and power, he asked me the equations of torque, equations of power, how both of them are correlated, all those things. As I had mentioned about the suspension, he asked me about hydraulic things, how springs work, some mechanical factors like elasticity, rigidity, all those things. Also, he asked me certain questions on them. And as I mentioned about the hydraulic, he asked me questions on oil, like viscosity, density, and all those stuff. And later he came to automotive electronics part like ABS and all. I had to mention him how ABS is working, how government is taking actions to make ABS as mandatory things to new coming bikes. उसमें कैसे circuit work करता है, how it is actually working, what are the sensors used in that. And he started digging me on how sensor data will be unlocked as an electrical engineer for an electrical branch entry. But I am giving explanations about the mechanical factors. Most of the discussion went on basics of mechanics. They will check you till which level they can break you. And later at the end, he also asked like, do you know in Indian Navy also we have motorcycle expedition groups? Because of that, I had to mention that whatever the recent news I had read about it, like there were some women expedition motorcycling groups from the Indian Navy went on motorcycle expedition to create certain awareness, and a recent collaboration of Royal Enfield with the Indian Navy. And then he also asked me about which are the places that you have explored. I had certain places in Western Ghats, and he went on asking questions on geographical stuff now. What is the highest peak in the Western Ghats? How much altitude it is? And what are the agricultural activities done in the Western Ghats? How the climate is changing from northern Western Ghats to southern Western Ghats, from where it originates and where it ends. From technical stuff, it came to general awareness, and then general awareness to geography. A lot of things changed. My total interview went that day around 1 hour 40 minutes. Out of that, at least I think around an hour, we have only discussed about motorcycle and all the stuff around motorcycle. With keeping this one thing as a main thread, they checked all of my personality around that, how much technical aspects I know. Only few questions he asked me about electrical stuff, only basic things, and then the remaining stuff went around my personal life, my family life, all of those things. So what I'm trying to say is that whatever we are doing, we should do it with full of passion, and we should do it like we are living it up to. If I didn't know these things, I wouldn't have answered. I couldn't have made a proper way for myself to take that interview in a smoother direction.